Since Jin-Woo Sung was the one making the request, President Go was ready to do whatever it took, no matter how tough it was. He really wanted to keep Jin-Woo happy. "I'll take care of it," President Go said with a confident smile. Jin-Woo smiled back, feeling satisfied. "Thanks a lot," he said. President Go smiled too, glad he could help. "I always say this, but thank you," Jin-Woo said with a grin. Squirt! The car screeched to a halt far from the hospital entrance. "See you next time, Hunter Sung," Jin-Woo said, hopping out after a quick goodbye. Reporters swarmed the hospital entrance, cameras and microphones in hand. Word had spread that the victims were being moved here, and now everyone wanted answers. Jinshul stopped before reaching the entrance. If people saw Jin-Woo stepping out of the Hunters Association president's car, it would definitely cause a commotion. Fame could be such a hassle sometimes. Jin-Woo shook his head and turned invisible using stealth. Meanwhile, in the chairman's office at Eugene Construction, Chairman Yu was fast asleep at his big desk. He sat up slowly, watching the sunlight pour through the windows. He had felt his eyes getting heavy before he drifted off to sleep. Secretary Kim, a key person working for Chairman Yu, was sitting straight up on the couch across from the desk. The chairman rubbed his eyes to shake off the last bits of sleepiness. "Guess I fell asleep for a bit," he said. "How long did I sleep?" Secretary Kim checked his watch and replied. "You've been asleep for an impressive 23 hours and 46 minutes. Chairman Yu stopped rubbing his face. "Like you told me to." Secretary Kim continued. "I was here waiting, ready to rush you to the hospital, if you didn't wake up by 24 hours. Was this because of that disease again?" Chairman Yu let his hands fall to his sides in shock. The eternal sleep disease was terrifying people with it. Could fall asleep at any moment, but waking up became impossible, leading to a slow and certain death. Secretary Kim stepped forward, breaking the silence. "There are two things we need to discuss," he said. Chairman Yu wiped away his worry, living up to his nickname, Poker Face. The secretary noticed a newspaper sitting at the edge of the desk. She picked it up and handed it to Chairman Yu. He grabbed the paper quickly and started flipping through it with curiosity. On the front page was a shocking story. A gate had opened at a school in Seoul, causing the deaths of hundreds of students. His eyes widened in shock as he read the details. The news was horrifying so much that he groaned and pushed the paper away. "Wow, that's awful," said the boss, shaking his head. "We have to make sure the company donates money to the school and helps the victims' families." "Yes, sir, I understand," his secretary replied. "But there's something else you should see." He flipped the newspaper to the next page, where a big photo caught their attention. The picture showed a middle-aged woman standing outside the hospital, where some of the injured students were being treated. "Do you recognize her?" he asked, pointing to the woman in the photo. Secretary Kim pointed out a woman who was rushing into the building, a woman Chairman Yu surprisingly recognized. "How is this possible?" he muttered. He never forgot a face, and he could have sworn he'd seen her before. She was Hunter Jin-Woo Sung's mom. Chairman Yu knew everything about Jin-Woo, including his personal life. As far as he knew, Jin-Woo's mother was supposed to be in the hospital, stuck in bed with the eternal sleep disease and relying on life support. So why was she here, walking around like nothing was wrong? There she was, looking as healthy as could be, and walking around like nothing was wrong. Chairman Yu suddenly realized why Secretary Kim had wanted to talk to him. His hands were shaking as he held the newspaper. "Could you please look into this?" he asked, in a shaky voice. "Yes, sir," Secretary Kim replied politely. Chairman Yu paused for a moment before saying, "Thank you." Secretary Kim bowed his head in thanks. Chairman Yu set the paper aside gently, and continued speaking softly. "You said there were two important things." "I did, sir." "What's the other one?" Chairman Yu looked up straight and locked eyes with Secretary Kim. The secretary seemed nervous. He usually started with good news before dropping the bad stuff. He hesitated for a moment before sighing and saying, "Miss Yo came back to Korea yesterday." And right on cue, SLM, the office door burst open. A stunning woman with sharp, smart eyes walked in like she owned the place. Jin-Hyo stared at her father, her eyes filling with tears as she took in his frail appearance. "How long has it been like this?" she asked softly. Meanwhile, a camera snapped photos non-stop. A woman with sleek black hair posed elegantly, turning this way and that. The photographer nodded, clearly happy with what he was seeing. "Good, very good," he muttered, his smile never fading. Then, Kawashak. He stopped after one final flash, and glanced up. Soo-Yu grinned from ear to ear as she wrapped up the photo shoot. "You were awesome today," she said, bowing playfully. Her cousin Jin-Ho and the photographer had worked together before, and Soo-Yun always made shoots fun and relaxed. Even photographers who thought she might be a bit too used to getting her way ended up loving working with her once they got to know her. "Thanks so much," Soo-Yun said brightly as she hugged the photographer goodbye. She didn't stop there, she made sure to thank each of his team members too, chatting and laughing with him like old friends. Finally, she skipped over to her stylist, who also happened to be her manager, still glowing from a day well spent. "Did Jin-Hee call?" So-Hyu asked, crunching up her face. The stylist shook her head, looking worried. They had tried reaching Jin-Hee 4 times already without any luck. So-Hyu pouted at the bad news. Why was it so hard to get in touch with her cousin? Jin-Hee had just returned to Korea yesterday. So-Hyu had found out the day before that her cousin, who had been studying abroad, was planning to visit. Who would have thought that missing one phone call could lead to so much drama? Jin-Hee had been fast asleep after a late-night photo shoot when her cousin tried to reach her. And since then she'd been totally unreachable. Did something happen to her? No way, Soo-Yun told herself. Jin-Hee was the oldest child of Myung-han Yu-Mu, the head of Korea's biggest company. Something happening to her was as unlikely as a top gamer getting into an accident while playing their favorite video game. "Can you grab my phone for me?" Soo-Yun asked, deciding to give it one more shot. She was thrilled when the phone rang right then. "Is that Jin-Hee?" She wondered aloud, her eyes lighting up with excitement. But when she checked the caller ID, her face fell. It wasn't Jin-Hee at all. It was Jin-Ho-Yu. She let out a dramatic groan and rolled her eyes. "The pest," she muttered under her breath. Soo-Hyu snapped her fingers in irritation before hitting the talk button. "What?" She barked into the phone, not bothering to hide her annoyance. "Hey Ses." Jin-Ho's cheerful voice came through the line. Soo-Hyu let out a quiet sigh. She knew all too well that Jin-Ho only called her Ses when he wanted something from her. "Do you know where Jin-Hee is?" he asked casually, as if he hadn't just ruined her day. "My sister," Soo-Hyu replied, her tone dripping with confusion and irritation. "Why are you asking? Is she back?" Soo-Yun remembered hearing that Jin-Yo had gotten kicked out of the house for disobeying his dad's orders to take over the Yujin Guild. Honestly, he wasn't much help to her anyway. No, forget it. What's going on? She doubted Jin-Yo was calling this late just to hang out and grab drinks. Then his excited voice came through the phone. "Soo-Yun want to join our guild." What was he talking about now? Soo-Yun's usually smooth face scrunched up in confusion. "Your guild?" she asked, looking confused. Jin-Yo's offer sounded even crazier than his request. "Why not just join our guild? Then you can do whatever you want, instead of being stuck in your dad's guild, as some mascot," he said. Soo-Yun narrowed her eyes, suspicious. She leaned in closer and whispered, "Why do you need my name? We're short one person for the founding members. You're asking me to join a guild that's not even started yet." Jin-Woo replied cheerfully, which made Soo-Hyun's head ache. His over-the-top positivity and confidence were exhausting. But there was a bigger question. Who's the third founder? She wasn't worried about Jin-Yo getting scammed. She was more curious who would want to team up with him in the first place. "You sure you're not being scammed?" she asked. Who else would start a guild with an inexperienced D-rank hunter like her cousin? Except some scammer trying to take advantage of him. Jin-Yo's response caught her off guard. "Ta." His voice sounded so relaxed, like he was smirking on the other end of the call. "You're not ready to hear who it is." "Why? Who is it?" I'm hanging up." Wait. Jin-Yo's desperate plea stopped her, just as she was about to press the end call button. Soo-Hyun pressed the phone back to her ear with a big smile. "All right, let's count down together. 3, 2. It's Jin-Woo Sung." Soo-Hyun's eyes widened in shock. "The Jin-Woo Sung?" she asked, her voice full of disbelief. "The one and only," Jin-Hyo replied with a laugh. "You mean the S-rank hunter who disappeared out of nowhere, after totally ruining Min Sung Lee's press conference?" Jin-Hyo paused for a moment before saying, "So that's really all you remember him for?" Soo-Hyun didn't care what Jin-Hyo thought. To her, Jin-Woo Sung was the guy who had finally put the annoying Min Sung Lee in his place. It was really cool to see. He If what Jin-Woo was saying was true, So-hyun could see why he was so confident. Jin-Woo liked to show off, but he wasn't the kind of guy to lie. So-hyun thought about this for a moment. Can we talk about this in person? She asked. Sure. Do you want to come to our office, sis? So-hyun grabbed a sticky note and quickly wrote down an address her boss had given her. Where is it? She asked excitedly. After jotting everything down, she took a deep breath to calm herself before calling Jin-Yo. I'm on my way. So-hyun said. See you soon, So-hyun's. Jin-Yo replied cheerfully. Beep. So-hyun did. Her stylist, who had overheard the conversation, whispered. Are you heading out? Skipping dinner? Sushi nodded, while rushing to get ready. I'm meeting someone. Who? Tell me. The stylist insisted. I need to tell your dad. He's the boss. Her dad had one rule about her career in show business. She couldn't go anywhere alone. Her stylist, who also worked for her dad, had to tag along everywhere. This person wasn't just picking out her outfits. They were also her manager and her chaperone. So-hyun suddenly realized that if she snuck off without saying anything, her confidant would get in big trouble with her dad. So she turned around with a big smile on her face. Jin-Woo-sung. The stylist watched nervously as So-hyun hurried away. This isn't good, she thought. The boss is going to be super mad when he finds out So-hyun met a guy without permission. She sighed, trying to remember what So-hyun had said earlier. Wait a second, who was she meeting again? The name sounded familiar, Min-jae. But who exactly was this guy? She thought hard for a second, then suddenly spun around to stare at the door. So-hyun had just left through. Who is she meeting? But there were no answers. Jin-Yo nibbled on his nails as he glared at the computer screen. Nothing showed up here, and nothing was there either. All the mean posts about Jin-Woo were gone. That made sense. The boss had saved S-rank hunters on Jeju Island, stopped a traffic jam by closing a B-rank gate on a highway, and rescued a group of students yesterday. It would have been super weird for anyone to say anything bad about Jin-Woo at this point. Even his biggest critics seemed to vanish thanks to Jin-Yo's amazing job and Jin-Woo's incredible achievements. These days, any rare negative comment about him gets slammed with replies right away. This was awesome. Heck, it was even better than awesome. But why? Why did Jin-Yo feel so empty inside? It was like he was slowly losing ways to help his guild. Tack. As he clicked his computer mouse sadly, the office door opened quietly. Jin-Woo walked in, and Jin-Yo jumped up, bowing with a big smile. Welcome back, boss, he said cheerfully. Jin-Woo looked super tired, but that wasn't surprising. After all, he had just returned from a long trip. Jin-Woo had been at the hospital all night to make sure Gina felt better. After quickly washing up at home, he rushed straight to work. He hid Baru in Gina's shadow just in case an A-rank gate suddenly appeared at the hospital. How's your sister doing, boss? Gino asked, looking worried. Jin-Woo kept it short. She's fine. Even though Gina tried to act like she was okay, Jin-Woo couldn't stop worrying about her. The doctor had told Jin-Woo that her mental shock was really severe, so they needed to watch her closely. He hoped she could shake it off soon because she was usually such an energetic girl. All Jin-Woo could do now was cheer her on from afar. Just then he heard a surprised voice. Whoa, you weren't kidding. Jin-Woo turned around and saw So-hyun staring at him with wide eyes. The S-rank hunter raised an eyebrow at Jin-Yo. So that's her. Jin-Yo nodded nervously. That's right, boss. He had already filled Jin-Woo in on the situation. I know someone who fits what you're looking for. Want to meet her? She had a hunter's license but didn't care about guild stuff, which was exactly what they needed. Plus, she was an A-rank hunter. Not that her rank really mattered. So-hyun had sparkling eyes and a big smile that made a great first impression as they greeted each other. Jin-Woo hesitated before asking, if you join our guild, it might cause some trouble with your uncle. Are you okay with that? So-hyun nodded. This is way better than dealing with Jin-sung. Jin-Woo looked confused. Who's Jin-sung? He asked. Jin-Woo scratched the back of his head, looking embarrassed. She's talking about my older brother, the boss said. Yeah, his mean big brother, someone added. The plan was for either Jino or Jin-sung Yu to lead the Yujin Guild. Jin-Woo nodded, thinking about what could have been if Jinho had just stepped up and taken over like he was supposed to. None of this family drama would have happened. So-hyun ended up getting hurt because of Jino's choices. What a troublemaker. Jin-Woo muttered to himself. He's caused so much grief for everyone. Meanwhile, Gino walked in with a big smile on his face, totally clueless about why the boss was giving him that look. So he nudged closer to Jin-Woo while he was deep in thought. She said quietly. What is it? Jin-Woo asked. Turning serious, Suhyun's cheeks turned pink, and she struggled to meet his eyes, like she had something important to share. Soo-hyun hesitated for a moment, then gathered her courage. Her eyes lit up with excitement. Can we take a selfie together for my social media? She asked. In the executive office of a pharmaceutical company, Chairman Soo-Yu sat looking even more serious than usual. He was the younger brother of my young Han-yu. Are you sure about this? He asked. The stylist nodded nervously. Yes. Soo-Ko's daughter was meeting with Hunter Jin-Woo Sung, and they wanted to make sure it was really him, not someone else with the same name. At first, the stylist had her doubts too. She dug through her pockets for her phone, and carefully handed it to Soo-Ko. Soo-hyun's phone was on the screen, and one of her social media accounts caught Soo-Ko's attention. He stared in shock at a recently uploaded photo. There was no doubt, this was the face he'd seen all over the news. Soo-Ko's eyes stayed glued to the screen before he finally sighed heavily and rubbed his forehead. "Ha," he muttered. "Is everything okay, sir?" someone asked. "You can go now," Soo-Ko replied, handing the phone back to the young woman and gesturing for her to leave. As soon as he was alone, Soo-Ko quickly opened his computer. He started searching for articles about Jin-Woo. One title popped up, "What is Hunter Jin-Woo Sung's net worth?" Another said, "The most coveted hunter internationally." Hunter Jin-Woo Sung's big choice. President Jung Park of the Knights Guild says Hunter Jin-Woo Sung's power is off the charts. A mysterious offer from the United States for Hunter Jin-Woo Sung. Experts call him a golden ticket. People are super curious about Jin-Woo Sung after the Jin-Woo Sung. After the Jin-Woo Sung after the Jin-Woo Sung. After bought him up everywhere. Soo-Ko sat amazed by everything he read. "Whoa, I see now," he exclaimed. After 2 hours of focusing hard, he leaned back in his chair to rest his tired eyes. His forehead was sweaty from thinking so much, so he wiped it with a handkerchief. Just as he was about to light a cigarette, he stopped, put the cigarette down and grabbed his phone instead. "Hello?" A middle-aged woman answered. "You never call me this late," she said. "Haha. Do you know who our daughter is seeing these days?" Soo-Ko asked mysteriously. "What are you talking about?" Chairman Soo-Yu was completely sure about what he knew. "Sure. Here's a more engaging version of your text. His Soo-hyun was perfect, gorgeous, from a great family, and super smart. There wasn't anything she lacked. Even if Soo-hyun and Jin-Woo weren't close right now, it was only a matter of time before they became good friends. Wow, look at you," the voice on the phone said, sounding shocked. "Are you even the same guy who used to show up at her school every year, to make sure she wasn't sitting next to a boy? Katsu, let me know if you need any adjustments." "Aha! Did I really do that?" Soo-Ko burst out laughing. "You're gonna be just as surprised as I was when you hear this." As Seung-Chul-woo spoke up, his voice serious. "Do you want minions to officially join the strike squads?" "Do you hear yourself?" Jun-Wook Nam thundered. Congressman Nam was once a top prosecutor and an expert at uncovering lies and ripping them to pieces. President Go sat silently across from him, staring back without a word. Congressman Nam smirked inside, thinking, she knows he's beaten. The president had no defense left. Congressman Nam's victory was as good as done. President Go was in hot water this time. He'd clearly gone too far and everyone knew it, including President Go himself. But Congressman Nam wasn't backing down. He wasn't the type to push someone to the edge of a cliff and let them hang there. He'd make sure they took the fall, with the room full of officials and reporters, hanging on his every word in meeting room. 3. Congressman Nam declared loudly. This crazy policy was cooked up the moment Hunter Jin-Woo Sung created his guild. If that's not getting special favors, then what is? A rumor was spreading like wildfire. The Hunters Association, which was supposed to be fair to everyone, seemed to be leaning in Hunter Sung's favor. With this new policy coming out at such a perfectly timed moment, it was bound to stir up a big debate. The whole point of this hearing was to hear President Go explain his side, but so far he hadn't said a single word. The congressman felt like he could already taste victory. Sure, President Go had been on a roll after the success of the Jeju Island raid, But lately, things hadn't gone so smoothly. First, there was the dungeon break disaster. And now, people were upset about how he seemed to be giving Hunter Sung special treatment. Politics was definitely a tough battlefield. If Congressman Nam could defeat President Goth, biggest challenge of his career, he'd gain whatever President Go lost. He grinned confidently at his rival, picturing himself on tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Say something, President Go, someone shouted. President Go walked up to the microphone for the first time that day. He tapped it to make sure it worked, and held it close to his mouth, ready to speak. What answers would you like to hear? Congressman Nam asked, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. What a slippery character. He had been expecting an apology. But President Go didn't seem ready to back down yet. Congressman Nam's voice was firm and sharp. Tell us about this new policy you're pushing. Was it created just to help Hunter Jin-Woo Sung? Now, how would President Go try to talk his way out of this? Instead of making a weak excuse, President Go decided to surprise everyone by speaking up. Yes, it was a special favor, he said simply. Those few words caused a big commotion. Reporters, spectators, and even other lawmakers were shocked. But Congressman Nam was the most stunned of all. Has President Go lost his mind? She thought. Most people expected the president to either strongly deny the claims or apologize deeply. No one imagined he would boldly admit to anything wrong. The experienced politician seemed surprisingly calm and collected, considering one wrong word might have just ruined his career and reputation. President Go's peaceful and unbothered attitude was making the person questioning him a bit nervous. Congressman Nam gulped hard. Then, just as expected, President Go spoke up again. I'll ask everyone here one simple question, he said. His confidence filled the room in a way that no one else could match. The room fell silent in an instant, as President Go began to speak. Every pair of eyes snapped to him, like they were all waiting for his words. He stood up slowly, his gaze sweeping across the room, and said, Imagine this, a team of 20 top hunters against just one person, Hunter Sung. The president asked, which one would you pick during a dungeon break? The room fell silent, no one wanted to answer. But their choice was clear. Everyone avoided eye contact with President Go. Congressman Nam didn't say anything either. President Go smiled, happy with how they reacted. Do you still think it's unfair to give Hunter Jin-Woo Sung special treatment? Hunter Sung could take down enemies by himself faster than an elite team from a big guild. The question was, would they really hold back such an amazing player with useless rules? Congressman Nam looked like he wanted to say something, but President Go didn't let him get a word in. Wow, 21 countries like the United States, Japan, and China have all asked for info about Hunter Jin-Woo Sung, President Go said. He held up a big pile of papers and waved them around. All these nations are super interested in Hunter Sung. Then he looked at Congressman Nam again. Do you think Hunter Sung would want to stay in a country that's so strict? It won't even give this one small favor. Congressman Nam looked uneasy, shifting in his seat. The tables were turning against him, but President Go wasn't ready to let him off the hook just yet. So are you saying you want another mess? Like what happened with Dong Soo Hong? President Go's voice was calm, almost playful, as he placed the documents on the table. Congressman Nam bit down hard on his lower lip, clearly uncomfortable, while President Go sat there looking as cool and collected as ever.